Malu, how did you find carnivore?
My journey to being a carnivore started a few years back. In 2021, um, I contracted COVID and was confined in the intensive care unit of the hospital for almost a month. Recovered from it, but I was still overweight. And I was really hard on taking at least 1.5 liter of soft drinks a day. I really love soft drinks. Really. And I was really overweight. I used to play badminton, competitive badminton, but my orthopedist told me I'll be destroying my knees because of my weight. So I stopped badminton. So I just did the usual walking. Then after 2021 COVID, by 2022, it was a Sunday, I felt a lump on my breast, the right side. And I was, of course, disturbed. My best friend just got into cancer stage 3B, but she's diabetic. So I called her and she told me, stay calm, see a doctor by Wednesday. 3 days after, I went to St. Luke's, one of the big hospitals in the Philippines, a good one, got my mammogram, ultrasound. It was bired for, obviously, it was like 90% malignant, and there was no question about it. Though I have a very strong spiritual life, and I really prayed for guidance on how would I would overcome the battle, because the battle is begins with the mind, the mindset. If you start feeling depressed, everything goes downhill. But in my case, I really have a strong mindset. So I said, well, Lord, let's go to the battle with this one. So I started the checkups to see if my heart is strong enough to undergo operation. The first one would be operation. So from the moment of my first result, maybe a week after, I was into operation already. So it was a radical mastectomy. The cardiologist was happy that I have a strong heart, considering my house is on almost on the top of a hill, and it's a lot of going up, climbing down for me just to get a ride, and that helped. I also did some biking during the pandemic, and strangely, before I felt the lump on my breast, I was almost hitting the gym 4 to 5 times a week after work. I was a very disciplined person. That's exercise, but not in diet. So you could never really outrun a bad diet with good exercise. That I really learned my lesson well. So I was set for an operation. And after the operation, maybe in 2 or 3 hours, I was already awake, which was surprising. My blood pressure was normal. I was like talking to everybody already. And then in less than 7 days, it was debrided, meaning my wound has almost healed. My stitches. I had a very fast recovery. And I think I owe this to being physically active before I underwent operation. It was a big cornerstone for anyone rather than living a sedentary lifestyle. So, a month after my operation, my oncologist told me, I think we should start your chemotherapy. That's the part where I got anxious. She said, you need 6 sessions. And I said, I can't do six. I don't want to start January 2023 still with chemo because I'm a school principal. I don't want to not manage my school without me being around. She said, what do you propose? Make the six into four. I'll do it. She said, that's crazy. But are you willing to? I said, let's try the first session, how I'll take that much chemo medicine. So she said, okay. So I had my first chemo, and oh, yes, it was really a bad experience because after my chemo, maybe the second or third day was the worst. I can't sleep for 48 hours. I can't go to the CR. A lot of things I can't. I mean, it's so weird. All the things happening to me. I was worried much more on the chemo than the operation, because the operation they'll cut, you'll heal. My operation was an open, uh, cryosurgery. They had to cut first that part, check the pathology, and then come back after 30 minutes for the doctor to decide if it was radical mastectomy. And it did, because four out of my nine lymph nodes were aggressive. It was really aggressive. So, going back to that, to my chemo, okay, I made well on the first, but it was really a strange experience. I was awake for 48 hours, almost organizing all the things on our pantry and labeling everything, nothing to do. And then after a month, another chemo. So I think I ended my chemo after four sessions. That's December 30. And my oncologist was right. The medicine was so strong. When I went home December 31st, it's New Year here, I couldn't even type on my cell phone. That's how weak I was. My husband had to bring me dinner, lunch, and eat breakfast on my bed. I get weak, I get dizzy, everything like hit me like a bus. Like, wow, now you're 80% no energy. And strangely, that's December 31, January 9, I was back to work. Yeah, I was asked to report for January 3. I said I couldn't do it. January 9, I was back to work. I was in school and I was quite dizzy then, but I really tried to fight it. And after that week, I was not feeling well, but I still had to fight it. So I finished my chemo. But there's this third part, and this is the radiation therapy. You know, I got so overwhelmed staying in the hospital. I didn't want to step foot in any hospital anymore. I delayed my radiation. My doctor told me, you should undergo it because you might have regrets if it recurs. I said, okay. So I went through it by March, finished it almost before May. It's a 30-day thing. I have to go to Manila, travel by bus, 3 hours going down by Mondays, going back here by Fridays on my own. I was alone. I live in a hotel in Manila. My son's house was quite near, but that's the strange thing again. My friend said, when you're undergoing radiation therapy, fatigue would set in. It's just a 10-minute procedure. It was actually boring. And it didn't happen. After my chemo session in 8:10 in the morning, there was nothing to do. I decided to go around museums, galleries, anything free. I walk, I move around a lot. And my doctor, radiation oncologist, told me, I wish all patients were like you. You just don't sulk in one corner and stay there and wait for things to happen. I said, I'll die if I do that. So I kept on moving. And my oncologist is a keto practitioner. She told me, Malu, I think you better stay away from carbs, from sugar, for anything. You see, your fat cells, if you get fat, trigger also estrogen, and the medicine I'm giving you is an estrogen suppressor. And but still, if you have fat, that triggers estrogen. So I thought about it deeply, and the insight was that I don't want this to come back to me again. I went through this way because I ate a lot of sugar, and this has got to stop if I learn my life lesson hard. I did. So at first, I started transitioning to, well, I can do almost no rice. Filipinos love rice. We have only rice, right? But in my case, I'm not very fond of rice, nor chocolates, nor fruits. Really, I'm not into that I'm not that person. So I started with, it's like a keto, which I strangely did when I read Dr. Atkins' diet years ago when I was playing competitive badminton for a month. I think, well, I ate refried beans for a month, lost a lot of weight, but that's not ideal. That's crazy. But the point is, if I tell myself to discipline myself for a greater purpose, I can. So I minimize my rice, no pastries, no juice, no soft drinks, and lately, I was eating meat already. There's a time in my chemo, my oncologist said, we're having a hard time here. Your red blood cell is so low and you're lacking oxygen. I said, yes. The white blood cell, no problem. asking me to stick my Neulasta so my white blood cell would shoot up. But the RBC was such a challenge. So she said, let's stop with the iron thing. Eat real food. And crazy as it is for many, I love St. Luke's. I have no dietary limitations after operations. They said, you eat. You need to fight. You eat. So no dietary limitations. And I think the doctors there are quite advanced than other ones. So at the fourth day of my after my chemo, I ordered steak. I eat steak. I eat meat. And yes, many are saying you shouldn't eat red meat. You shouldn't eat meat at all. You're a cancer and okay, here we go. But I guess I'll be the proof if ever. So after a few months of keto, I think it was September 2023 that I started carnivore. Okay. From 178 pounds, I became 145 by February 2024. You know, all my clothes were double XL. That's really large. Now I can wear my husband's pants. I'm medium. So it was wow. And I explored the possibility of wearing good outfits. I was so happy, but of course that's really not the goal. But the point is I lost a lot of weight. So since I starved my body with the glucose thing most of the time in keto, all it did was starch all my fat and there wasn't much exercise yet because I said on my first year, I just need to heal. I can't stress my part yet. So I know when to stop. So I lost weight a lot from 2XL to medium. That made me a changed person and I continued eating meat and still many people would say it's not good for you, it's not, but I said, I am the proof. And then finally, I got into the carnivore group wherein we started with 2,000 members. Now we're 25,000 strong. And so Dr. Atencio said, you can become one of the moderators. You're a living proof of how it is. And not just an ordinary person who switched, but a cancer survivor. And now looking at me, when people come across and talk to me, they wouldn't even have a hint that I went through cancer, the way I look. Like, is that your hair? Yes, my hair. It's a lot of collagen here. That's why it's shiny. I said, it all comes from the beef. And I love beef so much. Any chance I could have boiled beef or grilled beef, any beef or pork, then sometimes chicken, seafood, I would eat. And learning from that group about oxalates from some vegetables and nitrites, I have learned what to avoid, what to minimize. Although it is such a challenge because sometimes when we attend seminars, you can choose what will be served to you on a hotel, right? And there's nothing else to eat. So sometimes I just don't eat, or I'll tell my co-school heads, hey, get some extra boiled egg for breakfast and give it to me. I'll trade my vegetables to you. It's something like that. They know. And even my friends started adjusting to me. My friend would say, okay, I know you're a carnivore. We'll have dinner and I'll make sure there's grilled lechon or grilled pork for you. So everybody knew that, okay, here's the carnivore person. And I'm so thankful. The people around me are very, very supportive and understand because I'm not imposing it. But there was a chance that in our office, I was invited to talk about this way of eating. I did share health tips. I did show them here it is, here are the studies, here are the things that you should get updated with. Some of them believe it and came and thanked me and said, you know what? My blood sugar improved, it went down, and I lost weight, and I'm so happy. And still, there are so many people with cancer, different types, messaging me on messenger asking how did you do it. My husband won't let me eat meat. He'll get upset when he learns that I eat meat and have cancer. I said try to bite a little when you have the chance, and all they have with for themselves is to fight the disease with fruits, vegetables, and as long as it's not meat, and it still makes them weak. So in my case now, I've started last end of December for a boxing session. I went back. I used to do CrossFit before. So I went back to my coach and said, I'd like to go boxing, but this is my situation. I'm not 100% as before. He said, let's see. I was so worried the night before, but when I went there, I still have the moves. Well, of course, I have to condition doing the 100 jump ropes, the planking, but I guess give me a month or two, I'll be back. I'll be back. So,
Wow.
yeah, after that session, I said, now let's test this. So, my test subject is my body. I had a very strenuous 1 hour boxing session with my coach. Asked me to do jump ropes, asked me planking, one-on-one sparring, and then hitting the punching the bag. Tonight until tomorrow, definitely my recovery food would be meat. So I ate beef, pork, everything meat. And guess what? There was minimal pain except for my abs, the core, due to the planking. But otherwise, I could do it again on that Saturday. So 24 hours, 48 hours recovery. And yes, I'm 55. You would not believe it. I'm already 55, 5 years to 60.
Right.
So many people would not think that, hey, you're already 55. Yes. And I'm so excited because I'm trying to be strong so I can catch up with my grandkids when we go running in malls or going swimming. So I said, there's so much in life that we can do. We cannot just be run by circumstances and events and allow what our parents eat and then we inherit their disease. We always have a choice. We manage things. So the only hard thing is many people know, but they can't follow because of the discipline. That's where the line hits. The discipline, they'll say, but I'm Asian. It's impossible for me not to eat rice. I said, it's a matter of getting used to it, and the transition should be very, very slow. And you consult your doctor first. Although, if that doctor is not that updated, they would say, that's crazy. Don't do it. Right? So, in our group where we have very supportive doctors there, teaching us carnivore, we were guided. Slowly, slowly, I understand, and this is now my way of eating, that even my husband does the same. Then my children, when we have family gatherings, they make sure it's all meat. Mom says all meat, and all of them eat meat. But last Sunday, we went out after church. Of course, they ordered pizza. And I was there. Okay, I'll eat a little. But there's still a difference. My body can sense it if I have taken in so much carbs. It's either something gets itchy or a knee would hurt. You would feel it. So it's like, hey, you're over max. I'm not used to dissolving sugars and carbs anymore. My gut is telling me. So when I go back again to pure meat, adjustment. So meat, that's my target. And last August, I had a small accident in school. My shoes, it's a sprain. I'm my my foot twisted. I was doing an activity and I had to go along with how I fall, not contradict it. And I did roll and everybody was shocked. So it took a while for me to stand up, but in the evening I had to be rushed to the hospital because I can't walk anymore. I was so afraid because bone density in my case, it's osteopenia. I shouldn't break any bones. But thank God it was just a hamstring injury. It was a hamstring, but it took a month slowly to repair the muscles, and I really ate heavy meat. When my orthopedist met me, he said, it's a good thing you don't have any metabolic disorder. If you had insulin resistance, it would take 3 months to cure that. All your joints, your tendons would be consumed by sugar and it will cause you a lot of pain. So I said, yes. And my orthopedist is a carnivore. He said, can you guess what time I ate dinner? I'll guess 6 p.m. last night. Yes, and it's 10 a.m. and I'm not yet hungry. The same. I don't have any more hungry pangs or, you know, get nauseous if you can't eat. And he said, actually, I want you to lose more weight to make things lighter. I said, Okay, I will try and see because being in and out of trainings and events, there's really a lot of food there that you have really no choice or you won't eat at all. Or I cook my food and bring it to a seminar, munching on fat while going to a seminar on the road there. So it's really a matter of what are your priorities. So now, in our household, it's uncommon for a Filipino household not to have rice. We don't have grains. And my visitors, my children who go here, Ma, we don't have rice. I said, we don't eat rice. It's not an issue for us. And they would cook their own rice. Said, sorry, but that's our way of eating. My husband got accustomed to it. He got lighters, performing well again. He's a competitive player in badminton. So I said, I'll go back to boxing. Maybe this Thursday I'll have my boxing session again, maybe twice a week. Because I also don't want to stress out my system. Just enough to recover, cardio, and then stress reliever also. So many things. So aside from the carnivore way of eating, I also set myself a mental break because they say if you're a cancer survivor, stress is one big thing for you. I know that triggers a lot. And I have a mental break. When I get home, I put down the phone, I do some painting, or I play PC games, or I do something and I forget the work and I'll just meet my work tomorrow at the office. So I've learned to put a wall because if not, it will eat me up, right? And being a survivor of cancer put me into a good perspective of how short life is and the quality time we must have for our families and friends. So
Mm.
that put me in the right perspective. I think it's not like anymore running after success and another success and you get tired, exhausted and you say, is this the life I really wanted to? Or is this the life that I wanted to just be with my husband, with my children, enjoy my time, do my work well, and try to see my priorities? And I guess one of the big things also that I consider in being in a carnivore is the reason why I survived COVID is because I have a picture of my children beside me in my bed. And now I have a grandchild, two of them actually grandchildren. They're the reason why I say I must be physically fit enough to run after them. June last year, my husband had a sports event in his workplace. There was a mini amazing race. I joined it, ran across football field 3 times, climbed upstairs, crawled in the mud, and I was so happy. And there were these group mates who are just 30-year-old women and said, I get nauseous. I'm so tired. What about me? I'm a cancer survivor. Can't you see? Let's go. Let's run. And I was so happy. I even won a badminton tournament there with my husband. So that opened a lot of thinking for me. The way we say it, Tony and I in our group, we say, we change the way we age. It is not having, hurting knees. And I don't want to be left behind by my adult children. We can't go there because mommy is can't walk. It's too hard for her, and I don't want to be their killjoy. I want them to enjoy life and be at par with them. So when we walk, sometimes I walk faster than them. Said, "Hey, you guys, you're half my age. You should be walking faster." And I still carry my grandchild as an exercise, also weight bearing, and I'm happy. Now I have my pet CT scan now all twice a year. I also have my acid infusion, Zometa, to strengthen my bones twice a year now. It used to be once a year, now it will become twice a year. Despite, this is what's good, despite the accident in August of the hamstring injury, I had my PET CT scan somewhere, I think, almost close November last year. And what was really, really exciting is the fact that my bone density in my hips significantly increased. Like, what did I do? It's uncommon for women my age. And to think that I had an injury, I was so afraid.
It's the
Yes,
meat?
I think it's the meat and it's also the
Mm.
weight bearing. I mean, it's not an easy task to go uphill to my home. When my guests visit me here, if there are some guests or friends, my friends would really avoid visiting me because they can't do the trekking. They would say, Malu, this is so hard. I said, no, my home is beautiful. I can see everybody. Across me is a mountain. So the view is very beautiful and spectacular. So I said, it is hard for women to increase bone density, especially in the hip area. You can't do that by drinking tons of milk. Well, that helps if you get exposed to sunshine, and I do. I walk around, I go out of my office, regardless if it's 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., go around, have some sunshine. Sometimes I don't even bring umbrella. Most Filipino women hide in an umbrellas. I don't. If there's sun, then there's sun. That's it. The sun helps with all the vitamin D. They say, hey, despite the cancer, you have healthy hair, healthy nails, you look like you have moisturized skin. Oh, the collagen in the beef takes care of that. I don't have to buy artificial collagen, expensive supplements. I just have to boil beef and I have all the collagen I want. And the point is, you eat real food. I remember the transition to carnivore was quite pleasant experience to me because I remember when I was a child, I was in the well, in your case it would be a lower school, right? Lower school, but you see that university, it's a university, and I would sneak out of my canteen, the lower school, go to the college canteen and buy meat and eat it there. And all the college students would be staring at me, and I'll be gobbling all the meat I can. And I said, ever since I really wanted the meat. And people would say, it would kill you. It would raise your LDL. It would, when I visited my doctor last year, maybe 6 months after the radiation, or yeah, I think when I lost weight, she didn't recognize me in her doctor's office. He said, is it you? I said, yes. What did you do? I ate meat. And she looked at all my markers, my laboratory. Everything was fine. The SGPT, SGOT, triglyceride, everything was like on the minimum level. She said, hey, but your cholesterol shot up a little bit. 5 points? Is that gonna kill me? I don't think so. You can look at me and look at my results and see the difference. Because
Yeah.
I'm the one, that's the
It's
proof.
it's amazing, right? Because yeah, your cholesterol goes up a little bit, but it's the best you've ever felt, right?
Yes, yes. And we know that the brain is made up of a lot of cholesterol too and helps me a lot in productive thinking as a school leader. So, and of course, one good thing since I don't eat rice, after lunch, I don't get dizzy or sleepy or have this, low energy in the afternoon. It was like everybody calls me, she's so hyper. Like, will she ever rest and not stop going around the school and the I'm really a hyper person considering what I've been through. So it's it's
So,
um it's a contribution of many things, but
mm.
yes, the diet really was a big part of it. What to reduce, take away the sugar, take away the carbs. And I'm glad sometimes I'm invited by other schools to talk and I get to influence people. And they would say, hey, I'm not eating rice anymore. I've cut. Well, then check your results. I say, it's good. I had a teacher who complained of bad knees. She couldn't walk. She could hardly walk. And she said, all we have this attitude sometimes we Google and then we prescribe to ourselves our disease. She said, I think I should see a doctor, an MRI. There's something wrong with my knees and everything. I said, I think you should see my orthopedist. She did. She was just walking inside the clinic. My orthopedist said, aha, what do you think your sickness is? She said, I think I have gout. I think there's something wrong with my knee. You should go check. He said, can I see your blood sugar result? It was way too high. He said, I'll give you a choice. You have two choices. You can take the medicine and forget about, eat what you want to eat. Many patients are like that. Well, I just eat because I have medicine. Or instead of giving you a prescription and buying medicine, buy real food. She chose the other path of, like me, buying real food. She ate meat. In a month's time, she was complaining of nothing to wear because she lost a lot of weight. It helped her.
And the pain's
But
gone.
yeah, the pain is gone. She can walk fast. There's no problem with her knees. She lost a lot of weight. She had to still rummage through her old clothes to wear something. The last time I wore this was 10 years ago. I said, good for you. Even her sister in law in London went to meat eating, stayed as a carnivore with all the steak she's got there. But the problem is when summer came and Filipinos eat a lot of sweet foods like halo-halo and all the sweet things, she became overweight again and now suffering the same knee problem. So I see, at least you know what's causing it. So it's not enough that you know, you have to discipline yourself. You have to. So, discipline, many people know it, but they can't practice. They can't give up what they're used to eating. They say, because I said, look, if your parents had diabetes and you have that because you're eating on the same table, what's being served to you is what they have eaten. So it's not just about genetics, it's about lifestyle. But if somebody moves away from that house and chooses not to, like me and my husband now, we are changing the way we age. So no moments where I can't remember, I feel drowned, I feel sleepy, dizzy. There's no such thing for me like that.
So, Malu, one of the things that strikes me the most is I would have expected in the Philippines it would be much harder for you to explain the idea of carnivore to people. It seems that people are much more accepting of it than I would have expected. Um, why do you think that is?
Well, of Filipinos, okay. Like in sales and marketing, it's word of mouth. When they see you change, you become a model for them. And they say, wow, look at her. She has changed a lot. What did you do? And that's where the conversation begins. And this is what I did. And there's this one thing. People won't go to the drugstore unless they're feeling pain, right? When it's really that bad. And that's the time they change. They say, Malu, I have this, I'm taking so many medicines for my sugar and everything. There was one parent, I talk about this, and she said, I'll try. A month after, she was there in my office thanking me because I think two of her medicines, the doctor didn't prescribe anymore. She said, you can take off those two medicines. She was very happy. And I said, congratulations. You brought it to yourself, not from, I just shared and you brought it to yourself. And I think part of my job also is trying to influence people to share to them the journey that I've been. I mean, if it's for a normal person losing weight, great. But for a cancer survivor devouring a lot of red meat, that's a different story because it really breaks the rules. Breaks a lot of rules. Like, don't you get indigestion? You don't have fiber. There's fat. That fat gives me a lot of digestive juices to go with. So I don't have any problem with indigestion at all because people think only vegetables can give you fiber. Meat and fat, they go together. And the satiety you have, feeling good, nibbling on that fat, wow, there's nothing like it. Because sometimes I kid my teachers, say, can I see your as public servants, yearly we're required to have a medical exam and submit. So the doctor would see. And sometimes I would see them just eating veggies, and still the markers are the same. It's bad. And I just tease them and say, "Oh, look at me! I'm eating pork chops and eggs fried in butter and enjoying all the food that's not good." So when we have a get together, some would say, "I'll donate my steak to you. I'll give you my meat. Is it okay with you?" Bring it on. And I'll give you all the salads that I have on my plate. So it's like a barter system. And I said, you know what's my problem? If I still eat meat, I'm afraid I would go to become small and lose weight. And what an irony it is for many people, right? It's supposed to be ironic, like, what? She's eating meat and still she's losing weight. That's the thing. That's the thing that now you see how science works. And
Mhm.
I also, even in my pets, before I used to have husky, and I was a member of Raw Feeding PH, where all the pet owners feed their dogs with raw food, meat. So I observed that was I was so curious. There's this manual on raw feeding, and many of them are very good veterinarians. There was not even one dog in that group that said it died early, had kidney failure, had this disease, and all were healthy, eating raw meat ever since as a pup. And that's true. So periodically, raw meat is expensive. I feed my dogs. Well, of course, they have kibbles. I feed them raw meat if I can. If I only had one dog, perhaps he'll be having all the pork chops in his life, and he wouldn't get any sick because of the bacteria. That's the usual bacteria that makes their gut strong. And I tell people, our immune system is in our gut. It will tell you if there's something wrong with it. So they say, really? Yes, it is. So that bacteria level should be maintained, the good ones and the bad ones, and don't try to be clean all the time. I tell my kids, my grandchildren, let them play wherever they want to play, and let's see. Because if you always protect them from all the germs, hand sanitizers, they will get all the disease because they're so sensitive to just a little of dirt. I said, bring it on for them. They're children. So, okay, ma, we'll do that. Just make sure that after that, they wash up, they're clean before they go to sleep, but let them play. So, I guess same thing for the dogs eating raw meat. In that group, nobody had a sick dog. Everybody had a healthy dog. Now, when it came to me as a carnivore, same thing with my husband. My husband is actually lean, but he had to lose some tummy because he eats a lot of fast food. His SGPT was, it's like a non-alcoholic fatty liver. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he plays competitive badminton twice a week, and still he has a fatty liver issue. And what's the culprit? Well, after playing, he goes to McDonald's and eat fast food. I said, that's where you get it, from not eating real food. So that's why I taught him how to go carnivore, and there was no turning back for him. Maybe it's half cup rice in his office because it's served with their meals, but he has lost his tummy, and he said, well, I play better now in badminton. I said, see, because in badminton, once you gain a little weight, you have plantar fasciitis on the balls of your feet. You'll feel that because we get to spin, we get to jump, it's very competitive. It will hurt just adding a few inches in your waistline. So he said, now my plantar fasciitis is gone. I know, and that's why you're competing so heavily. So maybe after my body conditioning in boxing, I'll also go to badminton. Maybe try again to play competitive. We used
Nice,
to. Yeah, we play
nice.
competitive badminton. We go to military bases, we play with them, and it's fun. It takes off all the stress. And that was the thing I asked my radiation oncologist. After my radiation therapy, can I go swimming? Can I go back to my old sports? And he said, why not? Just put a cap when you're tired. Then you stop. But I'm not gonna tell you to stop your old life. You have to be active because if you're sedentary, cancer cells would love it when they have no oxygen inside you. Oh, that would be impossible for me not to move. That is so impossible for me not to move. So he said, "Good for you. I wish all patients, you know, the backdrop there when I go to the radiation room where the patients are waiting, all of them has one assistant or aide or relative with them in wheelchairs. There was one that even if you give her morphine, she could still feel the pain because she delayed her treatments. It was nasty. And I would go strutting there carrying my Phil health form and say, "Hey, is it my time here?" It's like, "Wow, you look so ordinary with nobody even beside you." Said, "Yeah, is it my session?" Then I'll go there. Then I'll go out and say, "Hey, where will I go today? What museum will I visit?" And my friend said, "But in my case, I was just asleep all time. In my case, if you don't make me walk at least 10 blocks, I would be awake until 10 p.m." And I don't know, but they say people react differently to the radiation therapy. But the thing is, it although it people have different reaction, I think the building block, the foundation of health before you have these bad diseases like cancer is if you were not sedentary, if you were physically active, that helped a lot in recovery. Because I could just imagine in the operating room when I woke up, the nurse would say, "Here, we still have one patient there. His hypertension is still up. It's 4 hours, he's not yet waking." That's a problem. That's a very big problem. I was already chatty after 2 hours of waking up, chatty with all the nurses. When will I go back to my room? When will I eat and everything else? So that's how my journey started. And
Yeah.
now there's so many people sending me questions in Messenger. Some would not want to be identified in our carnivore group and say, "I have a dilemma. This is my cancer. I'm alone. Can I eat meat?" And I said, "Yes, of course you can." I know that some doctors would just say no, but in my case, maybe I'm blessed to have very good doctors in St. Luke's who really told me no dietary restrictions, just minimize your carbs because my oncologist was keto practitioner, and so that's why when she saw me said, "I don't care about reading your labs anymore, just seeing you. I know you're okay. And among all my patients, you have the best outcome after cancer." I said, "Yes, definitely." She said, "I didn't recognize you anymore." So every time I walk into that hospital, it's not the sense of dread or the sadness. I feel like I'm a gladiator who won that fight. It was like so uplifting to be there in the hospital. Like, hey, I won the battle here. I won here because of all the things that I have to really think deeply. How should I live my life? And now I'm living a different life after cancer. And yes, that way of eating really is a very, very big factor for me.
Malu, what is your menu like day to day? Like, how often are you eating, and what kind of foods each time?
Okay. Okay, I wake up in the morning. Maybe I'll have 3 eggs fried in butter. And then if there's any pork or beef, grilled, whatever, as long as it's pork or beef, I'm not more of a chicken person actually. Because if I eat chicken, I have to eat almost a whole chicken just to satisfy myself. I can consume one whole chicken. So then after a few hours, when I go to work, maybe if I eat breakfast heavy at 6 a.m., even until 1 p.m., I'm not yet hungry. I just eat when I'm hungry. Like, okay, I think I should eat chicharon. That's like fried something, entrails or something in the Philippines that they say it's forbidden. It'll give you stroke. I said, wow. So it's just beef, pork, as long when I'm hungry, I eat. It's as simple as that. No counting calories. When I'm hungry, I eat. I reach for meat. Our freezer is stocked with many meat. I just pull something, fry it, salt and little pepper, or boil it, grill it. That's it. Very simple. I said it even minimized my food preparation. I don't need to cut up vegetables or condiments anymore. It's very, very simple now. That's it.
Nice.
Very basic.
Nice. So is meat expensive in the Philippines?
Not actually. Now, well, the reason for that is because the ones in the market, wet market, is expensive. But actually, we have here a lot of frozen meat imported from Argentina or Brazil, and the beef is good. The beef is good. It's frozen, but I don't have issues with histamines. Other people can't eat frozen, right? Some have issues. I don't have any issues with that. I have a strong gut system, so it's not expensive. It's like maybe $6 a kilo of beef where I get it or pork. So it's not that expensive. And to think that it's a lot. That's just me and my husband at home. My kids are already adults. We're just two at home. That's so much for us.
Nice. Um, so Malu, how can people reach out to you? Do you have any social media or any way of getting in contact?
Yes, my Facebook. Actually, my friends are prodding me. Why don't you have your own reels or YouTube channel also to share your journey to cancer survivors? I said, okay, I'll make time for that and build that because I just want to be a positive encourager to many people, especially those undergoing cancer. I know how hard it is because I've been there. And in my social media, my social media, the Marla Magat, but many people send me messages there. But maybe I should take this seriously and maybe put my channel too, just to reach out to people, just to reach
Well,
out to
yeah.
people.
If you do get a channel started, please let me know, and I'll add that to the show notes as well. Um,
Thank you.
Malu,
Yes.
thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.